This is the SaltyBunny and welcome to Dockspace episode 3. In this series of somewhat shorter videos, we are exploring in detail one ship girl at a time. Today, we will go back in time, and dust out one ship girl that was there, right at the beginning when Azur Lane was still in its infancy. USS Portland. She's as old as time itself, and was always permanently available since the game release. She is probably the first real tanky ship many players got when they started playing Azur Lane. On a personal level, she is still, to this day, a mainstay in my Operation Siren fleets. You might ask if USS Portland, CA-33, is still relevant after 6 years of Azur Lane? The short answer is yes. The long answer is the rest of this video. The class. The Portland class of heavy cruiser was designed and built under the London Naval Treaty restrictions in 1930. Designed as an improvement of the preceding Pensacola and Northampton classes, the Portland was boasting heavier armor, improved 8-inch guns and much better secondaries of 5-inch guns. The design philosophy of the Portland class was more aimed at trying to iron out the deficiencies of previous generations of heavy cruisers than being a definitive design. The class achieved this goal admirably, explaining why, out of the 8 cruisers planned, only 2 were built. The successful design was ported up and further modified and improved. The 6 remaining unbuilt cruisers out of the 8 were constructed as the New Orleans class that succeeded the Portland. That was the result of all the cumulative improvements undergone during the 1927 to 1930 period. The class design was satisfactory enough that both cruisers, USS Portland and her sister USS Indianapolis, saw extensive service throughout the entirety of the war. Portland received the Navy Unit Commendation, and a total of 26 battle stars were awarded to both sisters, 16 for Portland and 10 for Indianapolis. History. Laid down in February 1930, USS Portland was commissioned 3 years later in February 1933. After her sea trials, she was assigned to training and fleet exercises and goodwill missions up until the start of World War II in December 1941. She took part in the Battle of the Coral Sea in May 1942, where she was mainly used as a screening for USS Yorktown. Following the battle, she escorted the stricken USS Lexington up until the blaze aboard the carrier became uncontrollable and was abandoned. She rescued 722 of her survivors. In June of the same year, Portland was present at the Battle of Midway, where she served, once again as a screening for USS Yorktown. After the carrier was hit several times and abandoned, Portland received 2,046 of Yorktown crews, rescued up and ferried by 5 destroyers from the wreck to the cruiser. From August 1942 to February 1943, Portland took an active role during the entire campaign at Guadalcanal. She served, among other things, as USS Enterprise's escort, shutting down several Japanese strike aircrafts. During the Battle of Santa Cruz Island, she received her first combat damage, self-inflicted I might add, when one of her forward 1-inch AA gun depressed too low and blasted their own splinter shield off, injuring 19. During the same action, Portland's bridge steering controls went unresponsive. In the meantime, a Japanese submarine launched a volley of torpedo at her. Portland was hit by 3 torpedoes, but fortunately, none detonated, most probably due to too short launch range, hitting the cruiser before activation. That was lucky to say the least. Later on the campaign, during the naval battle of Guadalcanal, Portland finally got hit by a torpedo that severely damaged her stern, locking her rudder and knocking down her rear main turret. Forced to run in circles, Portland kept on fighting. Miraculously avoiding battleship Hihei main gun salvo, fired slightly too high, Portland fired her frontal main guns at the battleship and managed to set her on fire. Still circling, later down the action, she also finished off the abandoned destroyer Udachi. For her actions during this battle, Portland received her Navy Unit Commendation. In between 1943 and 1944, Portland served in several actions from the Aleutians, the Gilbert and Marshall Islands, Palau, Truk, New Guinea and Peleliu, to name a few. She acted as a screening and carrier's escort, notably escorting the reborn Lexington, under her Essex-class hull. She also partake in shore bombardment and artillery support. In October 1944, during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, she took part in the night battle at Zuahigaho Strait, reenacted in Chapter 14 in Azur Lane. The Japanese cruiser Mogami got her bridge and her air defense center destroyed by 4 direct hits from Portland's 8-inch guns shells, taking out most of Mogami's top-ranking officers with the superstructure. 1945 was a no less busy year for Portland. She went around the Philippines conducting shore bombardment and artillery support while providing screening for the increasing kamikaze attacks from the Japanese. She also took part in the Okinawa campaign, pursuing her role as artillery platform in support of the shore troops, and kamikaze protection. During this period, she endured 24 air raids, shooting down a substantial amount of aircrafts in the process. Once the war was over, Portland went around several islands for accepting their formal capitulations. Then she was also involved in Operation Magic Carpet, the repatriation of over 8 million U.S. military personnel from the various Pacific theater posts back to the Americas, bringing back home with her 600 U.S. personnel. She got deactivated in March 1946 and decommissioned in July 1946, where she sat in the mothball reserve fleet until 1959. Sadly, no efforts were made by either Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon to preserve her as a museum ship. None of the Portland-class cruisers remains today, Indianapolis being sunk in 1945, and Portland sold for scraps. For her legacy today, USS Portland remains one of the most decorated ship in the U.S. Navy, accumulating 16 battle stars for her extensive service across the entire Pacific theater during the war. Like San Diego and Enterprise, she was pretty much everywhere. We can still see some of her preserved artifacts. The ship's bell is on display at the Oregon Historical Society in Portland, Oregon, and her mainmast and bridge shield are on display at Portland, Maine Fort Allen Park USS Portland Memorial, situated at the east end of Portland, Oregon. That was a mouthful. Portland in Azur Lane. Portland is depicted, in-game, as an early teen. For her features, there is not much difference between her default appearance and her retrofitted one. She has blue eyes with heart-shaped irises, her pale lavender hair are tied in a long side ponytail by what appears to be part of her mainmast, reminding in part the display at Fort Allen Park. And one fender similar to Indianapolis headpiece, there is one lock popping out of her ponytail and springing up, heart-shaped, above her head. Her expression, for her default skin, is sort of surprised with light cheek blush, while her retrofit skin depict her with a more mischievous smile and stronger cheek blush. Her rigging consists of her 3 main gun turrets, and 2 of her secondaries can be seen on the right side tight strap, for the normal version. Once retrofitted, she retains the tight strap, and we can also see more secondaries along her right side hull. The hull in both versions is camouflaged, using, from what I could find, the 1944 Measure 32 Design 7D camo. Her main outfit, for the default skin, consists of a laid-down blue jacket with white trims revealing her bust and shoulders. It has a frontal anchor attached with a chain. In the uncensored version, she wears a black bikini top, with one white star on the right side, and a black sports bra for the censored one, that is accompanied by a black miniskirt with two asymmetric white leggings. We can also see small propellers at her red shoe heels. Her retrofit outfit consists of a different blue jacket. She wears it normally, unzipped opened. The jacket has a gold collar, and the lower part of the jacket is white adorned by blue stars. She retained the anchor as frontal feature for her jacket, but this time it is attached by what appears to be a leather string. Similarly to her default skin, she wear a black bikini top adorned by 6 stars, reflecting her increasing amount of battle service at the time of her retrofit. She traded her mini skirt for jeans shorts, unattached at the front, showing a black bikini. The shorts have a small discreet string belt adorned with 2 additional star-shaped clasps. One additional feature of Portland is the special Indianapolis magazine she is holding, opened, in her left hand for the default skin. Once retrofitted, she is more of a fan of her little sister. This time around, she is holding 2 special mags in her right hand, and 1 additional in her left hand, biting on it with seemingly some embarrassment. It is to be noted that the 3 Indianapolis's special magazines in her retrofit skins have the same colors as the skill books in-game, blue, red and yellow. And finally, in her default skin, her hull number, CA33, can be seen faintly painted on the first limb of her right side rigging. It is not present in her retrofit skin. Portland personality is much less complex than the previous ships we covered in this series so far. She is always cheerful and completely focused on her little sister Indianapolis. She will mention her sister in most of her dialogues. In defeat, the only thing she cares about is to avoid her sister seeing her like this. In love, she wants kids looking like her sister, and even during her pledged dialogue she will vocally not give up on Indy. Overall, it will always be her sister well-being to comes first, all the rest is of pretty much no significant importance. How to get her? Portland, as mentioned in the intro, is permanently available in-game. You get her guaranteed as beginner's reward for clearing Chapter 2-1. You can get her from both a heavy and special construction pool, at a 1 hour 50-minute timer. You can get her in the requisition construction pool. In the guild shop she can be obtained for 300 guild coins in the rare ship pool subsection. She also dropped from Chapter 3-4, 4-1, 4-3, 5-1, 10-3, 11-4 and 12-4, but at this point you should already received more than you'll ever need. Portland is by no means a difficult ship to obtain, and she is easy to fully limit break and retrofit. Performance graph. Yeah, the graphs again. But this time around I am not gonna bitch about it. For real. Portland's performance graph, at least for her retrofit, is fairly accurate. I suppose that, in the early years, Manju cared more about that stuff. But not anymore for sure nowadays. We can see on this graph that her firepower and hit points post NA and her AA is set at B, which reflect her real-life class designs. Since I can't really pour any salt on the graph today, let's move on, shall we? The stats. USS Portland stats might look like there is a lot left to be desired. However, this assumption is not proven through players' experiences. Being a heavy cruiser, Portland comes with medium armor. As a default she is a rare or blue ship if you prefer, and once retrofitted she upgrade to elite rarity, or purple. This makes her one of the less oil-hungry cruiser to run with, consuming a meager 10 oil per battle compared to the shinier SR cruisers around, that comparatively, gulp up to 19 oil. Her HP pool is very good, setting her in the 81st percentile at the 19th position for her hull type. Her firepower however is on the low side, in the 30th percentile only, but with some gear, her damage can be fairly decent. Like all legal Union cruiser, Portland does not have any torpedoes. Her accuracy is still below the median point for her hull type, positioning her in the 42 percentile. But that can be alleviated with some gear if you choose to do so. Her anti-air, like most EU cruiser, is pretty high. She ranked 9th for the heavy cruisers, ex-equal with Baltimore. Only beaten by a couple of other US Navy cruisers and those overpowered blebs. Portland obviously does not have any air power nor anti-submarine. Her reload, like her accuracy, if nothing to write home about. Ranking at rank 61 of the heavy cruiser. Her speed is fairly decent. At 26, it sets her slightly above middle of the pack at the 60 percentile mark. She has excellent evasion. Ranking 18th, she is above the 80 percentile. And finally, her luck is also very good at 19. This sets her at a similar ranking than her evasion at 19th position. We can see that her stats tend to follow her historical design, role, feats and mishaps. Good HP, outstanding AA, decent speed and nice evasion with quite a bit of luck, probably reflecting Heehae's overshooting at Guadalcanal and being hit by 3 undetonated torpedoes. Slot efficiency. The stats are something, but one does always have to offset them with the ship's slot efficiency. In Portland's case, her main gun can be increased to 115%, her secondary destroyer gun is on the bad, with a puny 65% efficiency, so putting strong DD guns on her is sort of a waste. However, her anti-air slot at 135% is excellent, and makes her a very good AA platform. The skills. Portland comes with 1 attack skill, 1 utility skill and her all-out assault. Her first skill, Best Sister, reads, for level 10, when sorted with Indianapolis, increases this ship's firepower, anti-air, and reload by 15%. Her second skill is what makes this ship invaluable to new players, and can carry them all the way to early endgame, and even further. The skill is Defense Order, and at level 10, every 20 seconds, 25% chance to decrease the damage your entire fleet takes by 15% for 8 seconds. Does not stack with the same skill. This skill makes her very tanky and helps a great deal for the survivability of your entire fleet. Her last skill is her all-out assault. At max limit break, the skill reads, activates all-out assault 2, Portland class once every 8 times the main guns are fired. The gear. As her personality and disposition, Portland is not a needy waifu when it comes down to the equipment. As main gun, with a 115% efficiency, you can use most heavy cruiser guns. For the newer players, you can go with a German twin 203mm SKC/34. If you are more advanced in the game, either of the Gearlab triple 203mm Mark 15 main gun or the research prototype triple 203mm SKC/34 are very good options. Else you can always use any of the 3 UR rainbow guns if you wish, that is, if you have extras lying around. For her secondaries, well, there's not much you can do with the 65% efficiency, it will suck whatever you do with them. For general use, just go ahead and put whatever destroyer guns you have readily on hand, like the twin 127mm Mark 12 dual purpose, or the twin 110mm Type 98 high angle mount. That later option has a slightly higher AA bonus, so it would be a great option on Portland. For the anti-air, mostly any AA guns will do good on Portland. You can go for the usual and fairly easy to get guns like the British twin 113mm, or the German twin 105mm for long range, slow firing and high damage, or pick the quadruple 40mm buffers for maximum mid-range damage. For the auxiliaries, depending on what you need, You can easily go for more survivability by using an extra torpedo belt or a repair kit. If you have spare high-performance hydraulic steering gear, you can use that as well, but it is not mandatory. The newer players who don't have much of all the nice shiny gold gear don't have to feel bad about that. For the second slot you can stack some more survivability auxiliaries, or depending on what you are doing, I suppose an auto-loader would help a little with the damage, or some form of anti-air radar if you have problem with airstrikes. An SG radar is also a viable option, to improve her accuracy and limit the ambushes on progression map clearing. Portland does not have a unique augment modules at the time of this video. If you use her in the frontmost position, use the Great Sword. That boosts her firepower and gives her the area/attack. In any other position or for dedicated AA role, use the Lance. This will improve both her hit rating and her anti-air and gives her the once per battle counter-attack firepower boost. Ship's role and conclusion. Portland is an easy ship girl to get, and she's also one of the easiest early ship to upgrade by both limit breaking and retrofitting. The only sad thing is that her retrofit does not give her any skill improvement. Nevertheless, she is, due to the combination of her decent stats and her skills, a very useful ship girl. Probably the best early game tank you can get quickly. She will probably end up at the frontmost position of your vanguard as main tank, bearing the brunt of the enemy attacks while providing outstanding anti-air. Using her can make any new player progression a far less bumpy endeavor by offering a very stable and a hard-to-kill tank. She can do that while protecting your entire fleet with much-needed damage reduction on harder fights. Being a tank with support damage reduction skill, combined with her low oil cost, makes her a very good option to carry a grind-leveling fleet. For early game, if you have Indianapolis, by any means, use her for Portland's damage buff. However, as you progress into the game and obtain better ships, Indianapolis is not scaling too well around mid-game, and the newer ship better damage and performance will quickly exceed the bonuses granted by running with the sisters duo. Phasing Indy out will not affect Portland defensive and support capabilities in any ways at this point. All in all, Portland is still, to this day, one of the most desirable early ships. You will probably keep her around and use her for a very long time. She is part of the early game overpower trio, USS Portland, USS Ranger and USS Cleveland. You may even want to keep running with that bunch all the way up to the endgame. As I mentioned earlier, I have personally been running Portland in my fleets for 5 years, and I still actively use her daily in my Operation Siren fleets. It is up to you if you will pick her up and use her, but if you do, you will not regret it. I hope that this video helped you in one way, or another, to, at least see if Portland is worth investing in, or be remembered. This is pretty much it for this overview of USS Portland. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. If you did not really cared about any of this stuff, thank you for watching and reaching this point. This was the SaltyBunny and thank you for watching the video. We're done for now.